What's up, guys? Welcome back to Like the One Podcast. I'm Patrick. That's Jacob. And 2 days ago, we had Monza. Um, Give me your thoughts on the weekend. Just rate it out of 10.
7.
Any elaboration
8.
behind that, or just,
Max won again.
oh, at this point, you can just omit the first position. But all right. Jacob, any reason for an 8?
I thought it was a fun weekend overall. I mean, aside from the fact that Max won again,
Yeah.
you saw some good You actually saw some good racing into turn one.
Yeah.
The Ferraris, were pretty competitive with themselves.
Yes.
So I thought it was the Lewis and George. Admittedly, while it wasn't a great weekend for them, still a good recovery
Yeah, that
weekend.
was a
So
great
At
recovery.
least
I think
Lewis
5,
scored
6.
points. Yeah. Lewis, that guy. I have some bones to pick with him this week.
All right, so
I
for me,
love
it was
Lewis,
this
but-
is probably my second favorite weekend of the entire year. The only one
How though?
the only one that I liked more was Zandvoort. I feel like the racing here was awesome. Not just because
Okay.
Alex was doing awesome, but just like Jakob said, the overtaking into turn one, the Ferraris actually fighting each other and somewhat fighting Checo. Lewis sliding back through well, it wasn't really sliding back through the field as 3 people, but still, one of them he removed violently, and the other 2 he actually got through relatively comfortably. But I need to know your guys' thoughts on qualifying first off.
That was crazy. I mean, it was so close.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I don't hate me, but I kind of like this tire situation where you have to do hard, medium, soft.
Mm-hmm.
It's closer somehow. Yeah.
Jakob, your thoughts on qualifying?
I think the ATA works just because it makes qualifying more fun. I don't know if it necessarily works for the midfield and the lower end midfield teams, just because
True.
the top 4 teams maybe will get through to Q3. The whole point of it is to jumble up the grid, like mix up the grid a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
the top 4 teams, just because of how fast the cars are now, they will get through to Q3. So I mean, it's a fun. I guess maybe don't apply it to free practice because you have less running for the fans. But overall, like, quality was good. I only watched the highlights, so it looked pretty interesting.
It's worth watching the whole thing. It was pretty good.
Yeah. And like surprisingly, I feel like Alex Albon does well with this kind of setup as well.
I mean, everybody was expecting to do better than what they did this weekend. So, I'm happy with it, but I think qualifying was electric if you actually watched it at the time. Like watching Carlos come through as the last car over the line, and went out by 13 thousandths of a second. That was absolutely electric. I could not.
It was like Leclerc. You're like, Leclerc's got it, and then you're like, oh man, Max has got it, and then you're like, oh my god, no, it's Carlos. Let's go.
Yeah. But the Ferraris did put in new engines and max them out for both Charles and Carlos to work
They
with.
had to.
Yeah. And then
The home race
they
for the
changed
Tifosi.
their setups to be they had the highest acceleration out of anybody. And they had the second highest. Well, Carlos had the second highest speed through the speed trap behind Alex by 1 kph. So I'd say the Ferraris are pretty fast in a straight line today, or a couple days ago.
I think they also said that like Charles changed the setup to be closer to what Carlos's was.
Yes.
Which, dude, that guy, he wasn't giving Carlos a break at all. I mean, like, I know you want like good racing, but like with the McLarens, like they understand like, oh, there's something more to it than just like both you guys duking it out for one spot. The team needs to come in with good points, and ultimately, it really could have gone wrong. It super could have.
And also, it got closer to going wrong with the McLarens than the Ferraris.
For sure.
Yeah.
Give me heart palpitations. Yeah. Undeserved.
Let's just run through the teams. Red Bull, Max, Checo. best possible weekend.
Well, with the news that came after the race that Max's car was like losing significant power or something, right? Like he could have not finished if Yuki didn't start the race, and the race got cut down to fewer laps. So I mean, I don't know, what was that about? Did anyone ever find out like more about what the problem was?
No, not a clue. That wasn't something that they.
Honestly, I don't think that's facts though, because like I've googled this stuff. Like,
yeah,
I think that might just be some nonsense that like.
But he was losing a ton of time at the end, the last couple laps.
He's still
like 2 seconds a lap or something.
At the gap he had, it's not really worth talking about because like he could have gone 10 more laps.
Yeah. Okay, but like for future, like, is there like a reliability issue going on there or no? Like, who knows? That's what I want to know.
Red Bull's running their engine at 70%. Have openly said so. So it's like,
okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. Checo though, he did pretty well, but like, it's like almost like if he doesn't like, because he qualifies poorly. Okay, starting out there, like he didn't qualify where he should have. So the next step is like, yeah, you have to go through the field because your car is so much better than everyone else around you. So if you don't do that, then like, so you can't really like applaud him for getting second place because that's where he should be every week.
You can. He had to get through both Ferraris, and you saw how long it took Max to get past one.
Yeah.
Also, I think that was also
14 laps.
It's like track specific. The Ferraris are great top line speed, and like give any other track, Max has passed those Ferraris in like 3-4 laps.
Yeah, but I mean, track specific wise, like if Max takes 14 laps to get past Carlos, and then Checo has to come behind and pass Charles, and then Carlos, while Charles has DRS, you gotta give him some credit for being able to get past both of them in like 20 laps or so.
I think the standards for Checo are just so low that and like you were holding him to like I think different standards now. Like honestly, if he had finished behind, if he had finished below Charles and Sainz, I would not have been surprised. I would have been like, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected of you.
Exactly. So then why are we treating this like P2 should have been the expectation?
I mean, like for the car, it's the expectation. For
theoretically,
the driver, it's the expectation, right? Like depending on like for Max, P1 at every race is now like the minimum. Like you'd expect him to finish first at every single race because he's Max Verstappen in that car. At Checo, like in that car, if you put like say Lewis, you put Lewis in that car, P2 or P1 is the expectation for Lewis. For Checo, it's like, can you finish in the top 5 at this particular weekend without any issues? Like, so like I think it's just driver expectation versus the car expectation personally.
Okay. Yeah, Max of course setting that record. The first driver ever to get double digits.
Well done to him, for sure.
Yeah.
And the team. Crazy good.
Said this to both of you, but just throwing this out there, there have been some absolutely amazing cars in the history of F1. Everybody knows about McLaren's 1988, 1989 cars. Obviously, the W04, their 2014 car, and then their 2016 car, and then their 2020 car. And I'd say the W11 probably goes down as one of the top 3 cars in the history of the sport. The RB19 easily goes down as one of the greatest cars in the history of the sport. That thing is, there are certain levels to domination, and this is just toppling them.
Yeah. No doubt.
The second place team, Mercedes, qualified, what was it, 5th and 9th? George 5th and 9th?
Something like that.
So what are your guys' thoughts on their weekend as a whole?
It's kind of a bummer, but they made it back up. George qualified 4th, Lewis 8th, so that was like a shock. George P4 qualifying, I think, to him and to everyone.
Friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
A lump of a car that can't drive in a straight line for anything. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then for them to finish like P5 and 6, it's pretty good. But I mean, my guess before the race would not have been like that Ferrari was finishing above Mercedes.
I think I could have.
And that's just me going in every week saying I don't know what suits what car best. Like obviously I'm not gonna know that. That's not me. But I'm just like going off of recent racing, and I just didn't expect Ferrari to do so well in their home race, but pleasantly surprised.
They threw everything at it, so.
I mean, yeah. If they were gonna throw the bus in the sink at a weekend, this was a weekend to do it.
And they did that,
and still finish third and fourth. So I mean, a podium at Monza, great stuff. Mercedes, I mean, like I didn't expect them to like be fifth and sixth. I thought just because of car characteristics, I thought honestly like Aston, like you were saying that Aston would be higher and McLaren would be higher, but you know, fifth and sixth is great for a track that they're not supposed to do well at.
Yeah.
I think they'll probably do better in Singapore given the track conditions and the track specific nature of for the cars. So, I mean, overall, average weekend for them. I don't think anyone was super impressed with their weekend.
I was actually pretty impressed with it. I said before the race started, I was like, I wasn't expecting Aston Martin, Mercedes, or McLaren to do particularly well because those are cars that are much more suited to tracks with much more turns. All of them are pretty draggy cars, and so I was like, going into the weekend, I was like, there's going to be an Aston Martin. Actually, I was like, Alonso might score a point, and he did. He scored 2 of them, and then I was like, Lewis and George are probably going to be low points, and then Oscar and Lando are probably going to be low points. And so for the George and Lewis to be 5 and 6 for me was unbelievably impressive, and George's qualifying was something else. The fact that he put it above the Red Bull, I was surprised he put it past Alex, honestly. I was like, great qualifying by George this weekend. And Lewis, of course, changing over to George's setup at the during FP3 because he just wasn't feeling good about the car. The same vibes as Charles saying he changed his setup to Carlos's during FP3 because they just weren't comfortable. But yeah, I think this is above expectations for Mercedes this weekend, so I'd say solid for them. Let's talk about Ferrari. I mean, we've talked about them a little bit, but I want to know your guys' thoughts on the fight between them for like, it was like 7 or 8 laps.
I mean, I was just so worried the whole time that they were going to crash into each other because Charles just kept going for it. And like Carlos's tires both their tires were running out, and it was just scary. I mean, great racing. Like, as I didn't have that much like skin in the game. Like, I like Ferrari, but I'm not like, it wasn't McLaren doing that on the big screen when there's a podium up for grabs. So yeah, I mean, I was just worried about it. I was like, that's Ferrari being Ferrari. Are they going to mess us up in front of the hometown crowd? Like, I was worried. I was definitely worried.
Mm-hmm. Jakob, your thoughts on Ferrari's weekend?
I think more than anything, it showed you that the drivers run the team as opposed to Frederick Vasseur.
Yeah, that's true.
It showed you that no matter what the team strategist or the team manager tells them, take it easy, relax. They're still going to race each other hard. They're still going to do what's best for themselves and not for the team as a whole. Now, Charles says he had that little lockup that he had on the last lap under control, but that's like nobody believes him.
Yeah.
And to be fair to him, Carlos, there was a bit of shady defending going on. There was a bit of moving under braking. No one's denying that. But to be fair to Carlos, he did, I guess, hold the Red Bulls back for as long as he did, and it cooked his tires, and that's I guess what he had to do. But I mean, if you put for example, if you put Mercedes in that situation and like he was third, like they were holding third and fourth, Toto Wolff would have said, "Now just hold position. No one's fighting no one. These points are important." Because they jumped Aston in the constructor standings, and now I guess going to try and compete for
P3.
P2.
I mean, even P2. Yeah.
P2 with Mercedes. So like, imagine if they had crashed. Like, that's points just thrown out the window. So I think Fred Vasseur has a lot of work to do with regards to maintaining or regaining control of that team a little bit. The drivers.
But I also think it's like a certain case of like, I think Carlos was trying to prove something, because obviously.
Yeah, and Charles was trying to take it away from him.
Yeah. I think Carlos is trying to show like, hey, like I'm here for a reason, and like, you're not taking this from me. This podium that I have, I'm not just gonna give it up to you guys. I don't know. I just don't think that Ferrari look on him too well, and he said he wants to have his driver contract like settled before the end of this year, so he knows what's going on over the next few years. So Ferrari are gonna have to fight tooth and nail to get his contract over the line when comparing it to Audi, because I think it's a pretty known fact that Carlos Sainz Sr. is really pushing to get Carlos a contract with Audi for 2026. So I don't know.
I mean,
It's tough.
I think also the thing is that Carlos rates himself as a driver like Max Verstappen or Lewis or Charles.
Mm.
But realistically, I don't think he is. Like, he's a good driver. When it's all said and done, he is a very good driver.
Mm.
But at best, he is he's a midfield, a leader of the midfield driver. He's not.
I think he's. I wouldn't rate Charles as high as any of them right now, honestly.
Well, I'm not saying Charles is as good as like Lewis or Max, but I'm saying
no, I don't even think he's on like George's level right now. Like,
again, I didn't say that. Yeah, I didn't say that. I'm saying that comparing Charles and Sainz, Charles has the more upward potential, given a better car and reliability and better team management. Sainz, you know what he can do in a good car, you know what he can do in a bad car, and that's what it is. I'm not saying he's a bad driver. I'm saying there's better. I think he just overrates himself maybe, or thinks he's better than he actually is.
Yeah, I do think he might talk himself up a little bit, but I still think that's for the sole purpose that like he gets talked down quite frequently.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say that him and Charles are about at that same point. And you might look at it as a potential thing, but like they're 6 points apart, and Carlos is leading that. Carlos is a much more consistent driver, and contrary to what you said, I don't think he's shown what he can do in a top level car compared to Charles. Because like all Charles has shown that he knows how to do is throw a championship away, whereas Carlos has shown for 3 years in a row that he knows how to consistently score points. So
maybe
shots fired.
I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to. I think last year was a combination of Charles' inexperience and Ferrari's incompetence.
Yeah.
But I'm saying let's say you put Sainz in the 2020 Mercedes.
Mm.
Reliable, he'll drag in points. Are you saying he's competing for a championship against, or even? Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Is that he's not a championship winning driver. He
Definitely
is a
not.
good second.
But I don't think that Charles is either.
Well, agree to disagree. Charles will. I'll make a bet with you right now that Charles.
Lando's gonna win a championship before Charles does.
And if Lando
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that.
I'll kill myself. No, I'm kidding.
Guys, there's no way what's gonna happen to Jakob in the future. It's recorded.
No, I think Charles wins. Charles wins before Lando.
I think Lando and George will both win before Charles wins one.
I can get behind George winning one. I can't get behind Lando.
Should we talk about Aston?
Yeah, we'll get to we'll talk about Aston. Real quick before that, also, both of the Mercedes drivers signed contracts to the end of this current era of cars. So, for anybody that was thinking Lewis is going to go anywhere else, Jakob, you're safe.
Let's go.
But on to Aston Martin and their underwhelming weekend.
Yeah, no, like tied for Fernando's like worst finish for the season. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive for his season then, if that P9's the worst he's done. Just kind of like a nothing weekend. I think I saw Fernando say that people are going to forget our performance because we didn't really do anything this race, but I'm going to remember it because it was so difficult and I didn't like feeling that way and not being able to move up the field at all. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, and then Lance Stroll, I don't even know what he was doing the whole race.
Well, he got one free practice session to actually drive because FP1 was given to Drogovic. FP2, he had to sit out because of a fuel problem, and FP3 was his only actual practice. So I don't think we were expecting much from him with only 60 minutes of practice compared to everybody else's time. But I also don't think we expect much from him in general.
Exactly.
Yeah, give your thoughts on the weekend.
Lance Stroll should, I'll just repeat this every time we talk about him, Lance Stroll should once again be fired from Aston Martin. Just because I think Fernando needs someone better. Fernando needs to be pushed. That's who he is. He needs someone who's talking shit about. He needs someone who's talking shit about him in the media. He needs someone who's going to push him. Like the moment he has the moment he doesn't see like immediate competition in anyone, like he devolves into a whiny Fernando who can't cope with himself. So I think Fernando, obviously he's going to turn in the results, and he turned in a result that probably they expected, but they need a new. Either Lance gets his shit together, or they find a new driver to push Fernando. Because if you still think Fernando's in his prime, or at least in the twilight of towards the back end of his prime, you want someone who can push you up the field along with Fernando, who can push Fernando and yourself up the field.
Mm-hmm. McLaren.
Could have been better. I mean, kudos to Alex for keeping Lando behind him. Very frustrating race to be a McLaren fan. I mean, Oscar did not deserve that. He was driving a nice race, pretty much, yeah, Oscar deserved points, but that's okay. Get him next time. It's still his rookie season. I don't know. I feel like he was undeservedly, punished for it, and then Lewis just got like a 5-second penalty that he overcame. So it's kind of like no consequences really for Lewis. I mean, I know he had to put in like a stellar drive to like work off the consequence, but yeah, Oscar ruined his race from that collision on that contact. So
Lewis tried opening up his corner, and it looked exactly how Max did it in Cops 2 years ago. Like, he just swung the car wide and just like right into Oscar, and I was like, okay, well, that was unnecessary. I think he might have been.
I mean, obviously Lewis apologized.
Yeah.
What?
But like, there was no reason for it. Lewis might have been getting a little frustrated behind Oscar, but like at the same time, it's like that was just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, you know how to drive, and you had no reason to make that move. So it is what it is, though. Lando with a
yeah, I can't dwell on it. I mean, just like 1 or 2 more points. McLaren's like in such a weird spot. Like Alpine's not really like pressuring them, and they're not really getting that much closer to Aston Martin. But like 1 or 2 points wasn't really going to do anything. But then again, it's like that's all they're usually going for. So it's like just frustrating. All right, Jakob, what do you got?
I mean, look, it's a racing incident. You can't really. Okay, yeah, not racing because Lewis got blamed 5 seconds. He
got a penalty.
It happened. He got 2 penalty points on his license. I think he's at 4 now. So I mean, it was not like it was like a clean race from the entire grid as a whole. It was arguably one of the more messy races that we've seen with, Checo's inability to stay on track every time he tried to overtake someone. So, with regards to, I mean, I think if there's anything I've discovered over this weekend, it's that Max races everyone nicely and Lewis Hamilton just the most hardest way possible. So
that's true.
I was watching comparison videos of turn 1 when he was attacking Sainz. He kept pulling out of that, going around the outside, and then they cut to the incident between him and Lewis, and I was like, dude, this guy.
But also, just there's nothing on the line for him if he doesn't win this race. Like, oh, he didn't get the record. Like, he already has the championship, secured, and there's just not that pressure. He has the memories of how it went with Lewis, so then he's not going to do that again.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I'm not a big Max fan, but I have to say certain things because.
I just think he races Lewis a little differently.
Oh, Lewis races him a little differently.
100%. No one's denying that. I'm saying, but there is an aggressive nature that he decides to employ when it comes to Lewis.
Well, that's his big competition, his great rivalry.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Lewis didn't have any aggression until Silverstone, so.
Look,
we're not going to go back
just
there.
A year. It was just a year. We got spoiled by it. That was probably, I think if you ever look at a year comparing rivals, it was one of the best ones. It's easily up there in the top three. You saw Lewis and Max finish either DNF or 1-2 between the two of them every single race for the entire season. So,
I think Lewis finished like out of the points a couple times, and that really messed with him.
But let's talk. Well, we don't have to talk about Alpine because there wasn't anything to talk about.
Yeah, Esteban retired and no one noticed. I didn't notice.
I saw when he retired, but it was really just they showed the radio message of him boxing, and I was like, okay, that's that. Let's talk about Williams.
Okay.
Lando doesn't like what the back of the Williams looks like, so figured that out.
No.
I don't know if you guys watched their post-race interview with each other, along with Charles hopping in at the very end.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
It was awesome. You could definitely tell which one of them has been media trained. So.
Yeah.
But no, Alex did about as well as could be expected. We didn't see the tire whisperer this weekend. His tires are the same age as Lando's at the end of the race. So, when it comes to Logan, it's just a series of unfortunate events for him. This is a track where we expected them to do really well, but yeah.
Couldn't get his first points.
No, he could not.
Just couldn't do it.
He had his chance to if he didn't make the mistake with Valtteri into turn 2. And like there's no way to cover that up. It was just a full-on mistake. I love the team, I love the drivers, but like that was just didn't turn into turn 2, and all the damage that he got, it screwed his race over. So
yeah.
I do want to talk about Alfa Romeo though. I think it's kind of going under the radar that they did score their first point in a lot of races.
So many races. And I mean that it's mostly due to like, Logan messing up and like just like kind of unfortunate stuff. And then like, AlphaTauri just always being like right outside the points, so like right there. But like Valtteri was just that much further ahead of Lawson, so
let's talk about that. Liam Lawson finishes P13 in his first race in Zandvoort, having only one session to work with it. And then he finishes P11 in his technical home race weekend.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw like this. Like Liam Lawson, like I don't know who he was overtaking. It might have been one of the Alphas, but like this onboard camera of him sending it like almost a Daniel Ricciardo style way back. I was like, yo, Liam Lawson, like you get some time in that car. I'm excited to see what you do. Like
I've been trying to hype that guy up for
probably
so
gonna
long.
get some. He's probably gonna get some more time.
He's got the
because
Qatar.
Daniel's not gonna come back until Qatar maybe.
Honestly, if I were AlphaTauri, I'd just be like, yo, you can have the seat next year, Daniel. Let's see what he does for the rest of the season. If I were
I would
AlphaTauri,
definitely be okay with that. I think
as a Daniel fan, I would not. But
you also gotta give him time to recover, because I think you're seeing the effects of what
you don't want him to come back.
Recover. Like Lance
Stroll
obviously came back, but I mean, I feel like maybe he could have been driving better if his hand was better. But it's also Lance Stroll. Daniel, on the other hand, I'm like, just give him the rest of the season to recover. I mean, you've told him.
I mean,
he has his contract as a reserve driver through the end of 2024. So just let him recover and then come back.
Yeah, and if like you have that much faith in him, and like, listen, I don't see Checo Perez making it to 2024. So I think if you have that much faith in him,
I think he's already secured for it. I think Christian already publicly stated that he's not going to.
Yeah, but and because Red Bull's comments on their driver lineup are the gospel these days in Formula One, right? So, no, I mean, if he gets replaced, I think Daniel is the obvious choice just because of the experience that he has. But so I think you keep Liam Lawson in that seat till the end of the year, and then depending on how your lineup shifts, you put Daniel in AlphaTauri or you put him in the Red Bull.
But I have been talking about Liam Lawson for so long, and I'm like, nobody gets how good this guy is. Like, there's the obvious stat that in every series outside of Formula One that he's raced in, he's won the first race. He's also always been in contention for the title in any series that he's raced in. And I think right now he's missed out on 2 Super Formula weekends, and he's still in second place in that series. So, like, the guy's an awesome driver. And I think it's finally time that he got his chance at F1. Like, I'd say you can rate him about as highly as, like, you can rate him above Logan Sargent. You can probably rate him about as well as Robert Schwartzman. So
I think Logan Sargent isn't really doing anything.
yeah,
So.
but I mean, he's also
Yeah.
only one of them with a seat right now. So, yeah, I definitely want to see not Logan, Liam in the seat for at least a couple more races. He's beaten out Yuki in both of his races so far, which is something Daniel didn't do. So,
True.
last team to talk about is Haas.
So they both got lapped.
Yeah.
Like, what? They're going backwards.
Yeah,
Dude, at least, you know what? At least Kevin Magnussen had like a great view of the Ferrari fight for most of the race.
Oh my god, yeah. He's like, should I try to get in there? No. I got lapped. My race is done. Yeah.
Big prime view.
It's just
My
so,
gosh.
it's so hard to watch the Haas cars. We were so excited for them operating towards the budget cap, and no, they're not. They're not doing anything with it. Apparently, they're excited about their 2024 car, though. So
That's all they can say, because if they're not excited for the 2024 car, what are they doing?
they're crying.
Because they're
excited for the 2025 car, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna get. But I think, let's see, there weren't any shakeups in the constructors. I don't think, as far as points.
No, Ferrari
Oh, did they?
over Aston Martin.
They jumped Aston by a couple of points. Now they're like 50 away from Mercedes.
Nice. Oh, Red Bull also officially are more than double Mercedes points.
Dude,
Cool.
if there's anything like...
Thanks,
We
Patrick.
can say a lot of things about the Mercedes dominance for how many ever years.
Mhm.
You can say a lot of things about it. But the fact remains is that they had competition. Ferrari competed for a bit. Nico and Lewis competed with each other. Valtteri competed for half a season every so
Okay,
often.
let me put it this way to you.
Seb competed.
the
Let me
2
finish.
years-
Seb competed.
Seb competed
Seb
for 1
competed.
year.
Seb competed for maybe a year and a half, and then like 2018 Germany happened, and then it was kind of wraps from there.
Yeah.
And 2019, 2020, admittedly, yeah, that was peak of their of like the Mercedes dominance.
Yeah.
But this is just ridiculous. Like, if they're gonna like dominate like this, put like a good second driver who can actually compete with Max. No one wants to see Max Verstappen just drive off into the distance. Oh.
But Red Bull doesn't care because they just want to win. They don't
That's
care.
why I don't like Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. They're so they just want like they just want Max Verstappen. It's just like enough of Max Verstappen. Bro.
Well,
Can we talk about Toto just being ridiculous this weekend with his comments? Like, Toto's just going off. Like, dude, you care about stats.
Bro,
Everyone cares about stats.
Him and Lewis took no prisoners this weekend, dude.
They did, and then Lewis literally trashing every one of Max's partners, teammates. That's crazy.
You can't really disagree with them, but yeah, I don't know. It's like, here's the thing.
Toto's comments.
You might say that Christian and Helmut Marko are a bit unhinged with how much they want to hold on to Max, but you can't. You also have to point to Toto being the same way with Lewis.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
100%.
for years he was literally sitting on top of Lewis nonstop, and the only reason he wasn't in 2014 to 16 is because Nico is actually being a competitive driver.
100%, and that's what you do with those generational talents. It's what Ferrari are doing. It's just it's frustrating as a non-Red Bull fan. So
you think every single non-Mercedes fan felt through for 7 years?
I wouldn't know. I'm not one of them. No, I think Toto's comments this weekend were out of line because I think stats are extremely important in Formula One. They define greatness in a lot of ways. And Lewis's comments, I'm not going to argue with. I actually think he was kind of spot on with his comments, but Toto's comments, I will say, were kind of out of line with that one.
Dude, yeah, Mercedes just celebrated every single stat that Lewis has beaten. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why did he even say that? It's so uncalled for. Just wrong. He cares. He's on Wikipedia every night putting in new entries for Mercedes that haven't been updated.
He looked he just kind of looked defeated this weekend. He looked like he was not having a great time this weekend, and I think he's not going to be in Singapore as I think he's getting surgery sometime around Singapore, so he's not going to be there. And the other dude, Giselle, I forgot his name, D'Ambrosio, whatever, is taking over for the team for the weekend. So I think personally, Toto, I think he needs a bit of a break from the hectic nature that is Formula One. He needs a break from watching Red Bull win all the time. So
yeah,
I think we all do. Yeah. Anyway,
dude, thank God.
Two other things I do want to talk about.
Yeah.
For anybody thinking that anybody destroyed the cost cap in 2022, the FIA officially released that they did not. Nobody broke the cost cap regulations, either procedural or a minor breach. So all clear there. The other thing is that the F3 title was wrapped up officially.
Oh yeah, who won?
Yeah, Bortoletto won, and I want to say it's after he won the feature race on Sunday. So
what academy does he race for?
I want to say Alpine, but let me double check real quick.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then the F2 title can officially be wrapped up in Abu Dhabi.
What's the last race of the?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a while before they race again. But the reason that they give such a large gap is because a lot of the F2 drivers are from F1 academies, and so a lot of the races from here on in are gonna be the FP1 sessions are gonna be given out to rookies.
Isn't Vesti taking over an FP1 session like
for Mercedes? Yeah, I think he's taking one in Mexico.
And isn't Felipe hopping in as well at some point this week? In the next couple of races?
He hopped in on Monza.
Oh shit! Yeah, it was not big.
He took one of Lance's. Yeah.
But don't they all have to? Don't they all have to do like 2 sessions? Like all these.
Yeah.
Oh, so like basically FP1 in Abu Dhabi is just gonna be a bunch of rookies.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
okay.
Yeah.
It's Abu Dhabi is not a last race of the season. Like, it's not a track worthy of that. And at the
the money that's being thrown at them for it to be worthy of that is making it worthy of that. Okay.
The racing's not worth it. That track, there's 5 meters of elevation.
That's something totally different. That's totally different.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to explain, that the reason that track is used as both the young driver
because it's easy and boring and
yes, there's 5 meters of elevation change. It's just not worth watching. Obviously 2021 was a different story, but like for the most part the track is
because they had to manufacture. Okay, never mind, we're not going to go into it.
Yeah, let's not get into it. I'm already like
struggling.
I will explode if I have to go through it again.
I think Sao Paulo should be the end of the year track every year.
100%. Yeah,
it's way too good of a track not to be.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, Bortoletto races for the Aston Martin Driver Academy.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know they had a driver.
Yeah. I didn't either.
I think it's just Bortoletto and Drugovich, and then obviously Stoffel is their reserve driver, but it's not much to talk about right now. But they're planning on expanding it quite a bit farther. They also have for the F1 Academy, they have Chloe Grant, who I think is being P8 in the F1 Academy standings. And I think they're finishing up theirs in Austin.
Yeah, must be.
Oh, the F1 Academy has their own website.
Yes. The F1 Academy will officially air through the F1 TV for Austin,
good.
Which
because
it'll be
it's so hard to watch them.
Year. Well, you literally can't watch them. They have no televised sponsors.
Which is annoying.
Yeah, it was because it's like such a new thing, and like the drivers all supported it. They're like, give us some time to acclimate to what it's like to be in an actual competing atmosphere. And then in Austin, they're actually gonna have full crowds. I think what's the crowd capacity?
There's only
400,000.
There's only five.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's only 5 teams in the F1 Academy.
And there's like 3 drivers per team.
Yeah. Well, next year it's gonna be different. So there's there's going to be 15 drivers total, but all of the F1 teams will have 1 driver in there. Yeah, so that's all we have for you guys this time. We'll talk about Singapore when Singapore comes around, but I think we have a week off, right?
See.
All right.
Yes.
So we have a week off. Let me guys know what you think about Monza and how you feel about the F2 title wrapping up in way too long. And Claire's taking us out.
Hey, yo.
Hey,
Oh no. And it's lights out and away we go.
Hey guys, if you stayed to the end of the recording, sorry it got up so late. I've been sick for the past week or so, and work's been a little stressful, but outside of that, here's some fun content. This is what it's like to try starting a podcast episode online, so hope you enjoy. What's up, guys?
Need some enthusiasm.
Okay.
We need some enthusiasm from you.
Alright, let's run it back one more time for that. No. What's up,
one more
guys?
time. One more time. Need some enthusiasm.
I'm not even gonna do the intro
Sorry,
anymore.
okay, I'm done.
What's up, guys? And
okay, yeah. I'm cutting this off.